Now, my first experience with a Suzuki was back in 2007. I had a Suzuki Hayate. Then in 2012, I got a Suzuki V-Strom 650, which also did not disappoint. I just wanted to point out my experience with the consistency Suzuki apparently has across its models, be it a small scooter or a bigger displacement bike. So, getting into this review with a Gixxer, I had very high expectations. The Suzuki Gixxer. 89,900 pesos is what you gotta fork over for a brand new unit. Essentially, it's a 155cc engine at 14.6 bhp, carbureted, front disc brake, rear drum brakes, both wheels at 17 inches. The Gixxer was launched in 2014 and it came out in the Philippines in the middle of 2015. So I won't bog you down with specs because by now it's all over the net. Google. Now, the test unit I received from Suzuki already had about 3,500 kilometers on it. Dumaan na to sa mga ibang kaibigan natin sa media, so we can say this bike was ridden pretty hard in the majority of those kilometers. It went through endurance runs and pushed to the limit. We can say this bike was not babied at all. Despite all of that, by the time it got to me, the bike still felt fresh and solid. What I appreciate about the Gixxer is that it only takes 850 ml of oil to fill her up. Now, what does this mean for a 155cc engine? It means Suzuki is moving forward and improving the efficiency of their engine while living up to the punch expected from a bike that looks like this and called Gixxer.
Hi ladies, wave! I think I freaked them out. Who's that guy in the motorcycle waving at us? Sabay dito, naliligo yung mga ano. Okay no?
I'm also happy with my gas consumption results. I got 38.7 kpl at my absolute worst case scenario, which is a week of bad traffic at rush hour morning and afternoon.
Ah yes, Pioneer Street, one of the tightest streets. Let's see how the Suzuki Gixxer fares. I just gotta find a spot. Okay, kaya ba to? Kaya yan. Sing it.
And I got 43 kpl in non-rush hour situations. I've been using this day and night for almost 2 weeks. Now, for the grunt I'm getting out of this engine and the refinement it gives off, like what I said a while back, Suzuki just moved a step further in the development of its engineering with small displacement engines. There are bikes with smaller displacements and lesser power that'll consume more gas than the Suzuki.
So, this is as long as you're within your speed limit. I think, yeah, here in the beast, 100, I'm below 100, right? Yeah. Defer from the traffic and get away from the pack. Ooh, Honda! Woohoo! Oh, overspeeding ka na! So let's test the brakes. Pretty good. Let's try it again.
The brakes are very responsive, too good in fact. Be careful on wet roads and sand on the street. Get used to it first before you go trigger happy with the brakes. There's no ABS. In those situations, you will skid. Trust me.
Uy, off-road opportunity.
Suspension is not as stiff as I expected. Kasi pag Street Fighter, there's this notion na matigas, it's sporty, it's gotta be stiff. But this one, it's just right, not too hard, not too soft. In fact, if you want to turn this into a scrambler and take on the off-road world, I would not touch the suspension anymore. Just leave it as it is. It's fine. It can take it. I just raised the handlebar so you can stand up and not sit down like what you're seeing right now. I'd raise the pipe and change the tires. And you're set. Let's talk about the power now. The limiter will come to life at about 10,000 RPM, effectively protecting your engine from blowing up. In a no-load situation with only itself as its resistance, a stock Suzuki Gixxer will max out at 131 kph. Now on the road, of course, it's a different story depending on your tire pressure, your body weight, the temperature of the day, the wind, all that stuff. If you want to go beyond that, you can play around with your sprockets or take out the limiter via a racing CDI. But I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, you already invested in a nice machine. Why put your engine at risk, right? If you want a faster bike, then buy a bigger bike. Makes sense, but that's just me. The riding position is comfortable as Street Fighters go, slightly forward with the seat in a subtle incline, so if you're wearing slippery pants, your balls are going to be kissing that tank a lot. Now for all you perverts out there, you're not going to get off on that because the Suzuki Gixxer has minimal vibration. The foot pegs for me are a bit low, so if you are into banking when you hit those corners and the twisties, you can move your feet from the heel to the crest before your toes, otherwise your shoes may scrape the pavement. The sum of its parts connect the Gixxer to the rider immediately. I mean this in terms of handling. I felt confident and sure with it in just a few minutes of riding it. It felt like meeting an old friend. Kasi minsan, kaya yung iba na aksidente, alam mo yung hindi ka sigurado sa bike. Fear creeps in, and minsan doon nagsisimula yung natataranta ka, alanganin ka sa sakay mo, and that's dangerous. If you're confident and comfortable with your ride, then of course, all the better. The Suzuki Gixxer is impressive. For less than 90,000 bucks, it gives good value for money and is a strong contender in its class in terms of performance, price, and efficiency. The Gixxer is a good reminder that our motor manufacturers are moving forward in refining the motorcycle. It makes one feel excited for the future.
Okay. Ice bar. The whole what was that again?